Motor Week Productions present the 1985 Daytona Motorcycle Classic. Brought to you by Honda. Follow the leader. He's on a Honda. Follow the winner. He's on a Honda. And by the only jeans that shrink to fit you and you alone. Levi's Button Fly 501 Blues. And by the STP Corporation. On the world's racetracks, on the world's roads, depend on STP, the car care company.
Those bikes bear remarkable similarity to these bikes, the Daytona 200 racing machines.
First raced on the sands of the world's most famous beach here at Daytona. 14 years ago, the motorcycle racers returned to the sand, but not on the beach. Instead, in the infield here at Daytona International Speedway. You're about to see the Daytona Supercross, a uniquely American derivation of the European-born sport of motocross. Up until now, our on 180-mile-an-hour road racing, that graceful, high-speed pavement ballet. But now, I'll tell you, we've got bike-busting jumps, body-bruising bumps. The infield here is about to become a war zone. And the guy who built the battlefield is our expert commentator. Gary Bailey, former national champion, now specializing in course construction, is in the STP Pit Communications Center with Ken Squire.
Thank you, David. This event has grown every year in such proportions that now it fills the entire tri-oval of the Daytona Speedway. And the reason is this fellow right here to my left, because he keeps creating simply great courses for the competition to race on. But he's also known as the Professor. Probably more people have learned about motocross through Gary Bailey than anyone else. And of course, he takes great pride these days in being the father of the defending champion in this event, David Bailey, out here trying to defend his crown today. Gary Bailey, this course is just about as difficult as anything you've ever constructed here.
I think it's without a doubt the toughest one. It's getting extremely rough out there. We've been trying to keep it wet all day long so we don't have any dust, and I think that's even making it dig up deeper than ever before.
Level of competition for this event?
It's tough. I tell you, there's any 1 of 10 riders who's going to win this, and I think the thing that we got to watch today is as tough as these riders are, as good as they are, I think what we're going to find is even the rider out front is going to have problems, because this track is a tough one today.
Well, thank you, Gary. Our man in the trenches, right down where the action really is today, is Tom Mueller.
I've been following Supercross races for about 6 years now, and I don't think I've ever seen the field more excited than it'll be today for the Daytona Supercross. David Bailey's riding with injuries, and so is Brock Glover, but both of these guys say they can just put pain outside their minds when they have to compete and win at Daytona, because for all the factories, all the teams, and all the riders, money's the answer, prestige is the answer. The win here at Daytona sets the stage for the remainder of the season. I don't think there's a win that would be more important to anyone than Daytona Speedway.
If defending champion David Bailey can win this race, he'll be only the third man to win back-to-back. And if Bob Hanna wins today, he's the first ever to win Daytona 3 times.
Bob, you're the '83 winner of the Supercross here, and a lot of people say you're just too old to come back on this rough course and win. Are you still able to keep up with some of these young guys that are 19 and 20 years old?
Oh, I think I can. I think today they'll be wondering what happened. They'll be wondering what happened to me. I get a little surge of speed there.
Everybody says you're a little quiet this week. You're not saying much, but you've been riding pretty hard. And after your performance at the Gainesville National Open, you're really going to be ready to ride some Supercross in Daytona.
Oh, I'm ready. I think I may not be as ready as '83, but I'm a little better off than I was in '84. So I led it in '84, so I plan on leading it a little longer this time.
A confident Bob Hanna and 79 more motocross warriors are about to do battle at Daytona International Speedway. The gate about to fall on the first of 4 qualifying heat races. Field is set, engines roar, and they're underway. Rooster tails fly as they dive down into turn number 1, and immediately the Hondas move out front. The top 7 riders from these qualifying rounds move into the main event. 19-year-old Ron Lachine from California takes the lead, and hot on his heels, David Bailey, the veteran, the master, the grand national champion. Lachine, one of the hottest new stars in the game, has 2 Supercross victories already this year. He's 3rd in the series standings. Bailey off to a slow start. At 19 years old and absolutely fearless, we wondered if Ron Lachine ever feels the pressure from the veterans of the motocross game.
Well, I think a lot of them think that, you know, they can put the pressure on me and, you know, I'll break down, and that's mainly one of my weakest points. And I try hardest just to, you know, forget about who's coming behind me and really ride my own race, and that's when I do the best.
Now Ronnie Lachine doing quite nicely for now, thank you, and he's got the best in the business behind him. David Bailey, the hottest rider in motocross for the last 2 seasons, not able really to move up and put the pressure on the youngster Lachine here in the early going of qualifying for the Daytona Supercross main event. Problems here, a couple of riders gobbled up. That's number 23, Mickey Diamond, in trouble. Battle up front, Lachine and Bailey, no change. Lachine so spectacular and yet so smooth. His lines are very, very good. He's riding without a great deal of effort, able to keep Bailey at bay here in the early running. Motocross, such a physically demanding game. You really take a beating. The motorcycles have become much more sophisticated over the last few years, but still, they're a real handful to ride. The hands of guys like these, though, that's poetry in motion. Good look here at Scott Burnworth. He's number 39. If you saw the show a year ago, you recall the saga of Scott Burnworth as he crashed and crashed and crashed through his heat, through the semifinal, through the last chance qualifier, finally held on and made his way to the main event. Looks today like Burnworth, high flyer at Daytona, is going to have a little easier time of it, as he is currently third, solidly in a position to move into the main event. Gary Bailey, your son David, is off to a slow start this year. He's been plagued by crashes. How's his motivation?
David has a lot of reasons, I think, that he needs to win this race today, or that he wants to win this race. He's had a tough start at the beginning of the season. He went into the first race at San Diego, and he had problems with the bike, couldn't get things sorted out. He went to Anaheim, couldn't get things sorted out there. His arms were pumping up. He was having a lot of problems. Then went to Seattle. He crashed. He landed on his face. He injured himself. He was out for the next race. He couldn't ride. He finally went to Atlanta, put together a 4th place finish, which was really good. So he's not had a good season starting out. So for that reason, he really wants to win here. And besides being the champion last year, he really wants to come back and do it again, because there's only been one other rider that's ever come back and won it the next year, and that's been Darrell Schultz.
Schultz won the race back-to-back, 1981 and 1982, before dropping out of the motocross scene. Actually, prior to that, Tony DiStefano won 2 straight back in 75 and 76. In the days when the race had a somewhat different format. They used to run main events in 2 different classes. Here is the leader. It is Ron Lachine, number 6, holding that interval as he leaps up over that big double jump. Gary Bailey's boy David has not been able to do a thing with Ron Lachine thus far in the qualifying rounds. Now keep in mind, this is just a preliminary to the action of the main event. Fastest 40 riders from a 93 rider field who came to Daytona do battle for the big bucks and the glory. Victory in the Daytona Supercross. Lachine, Bailey, and Burnworth are solid up front, but in the race for transfer positions, oh, look at this. We've got a dogfight. 37 Kenny Keelan leading Eric Eaton, Todd Harrell, David Hollis, Jeff Hicks, Alan King, all in this battle. The top 7 will transfer to the main event. That is Todd Harrell, number 762. He's currently 6th. Hot on his heels trying to take that spot is David Hollis, number 92. 22, Jeff Hicks, 1 position out of a transfer, moves up a spot. Good battle for the transfer positions as Lachine, the 1983 American Motocross Rookie of the Year, shows the way up front. David Bailey in hot pursuit. Good battle among the Honda teammates here as they come up over the laps, beginning to wind down now. If Bailey's got to move to show the kid, he better make it now. He's closing in. And Ron Lachine is really feeling the heat. Bailey comes right up and gives him a tap in the rear wheel. A little note from behind, hey, I'm coming, trying to keep that pressure on Lachine. On a tough, tight course like this where they fly through the air, it just takes one tiny miscue and the pass can be made. But Lachine responds, pulls away. I got to tell you, this kid is riding a good race here today against the veteran, the superstar of American motocross, David Bailey, top man in the game for the last 2 years. Lachine came up through the ranks as a 15-year-old semi-pro, battling world champion Brad Lackey in the Golden State Motocross Series. Everybody marked him for greatness at that time. He quickly signed a Team Honda contract. Now here at Daytona, Ron Lachine is demonstrating his potential, racing against the champion David Bailey. Coming up on a lapped rider, that's always a problem in Supercross. The lapped rider takes away your line. you can find yourself passed or worse yet on the ground in less than a heartbeat. The leaders working traffic. Ron Lachine trying to win his qualifying heat race from David Bailey, working their way down. Oh, and he's almost off the bike. Lachine losing the foot peg for a moment, has it back under control. Have to admire his ability to respond. White flag, 1 lap to go. Bailey pressuring. Lachine trying to hold off the charge. Again, in that tight left-hander, Bailey moves close, but can't quite get there. Last year, in his first full season on the National Championship trail, Ron Lachine missed the 250cc outdoor crown by just a handful of points in the final moto of the final race of the year. There's no doubt this kid is marked for future greatness. Ron Lachine into the east end of the racetrack, switchback for the final time. Again, coming up on slower traffic. Does he have the moves to make? Does he have the stamina and the skill to hold off David Bailey? Half a lap to go. Lachine heading up in front of the largest crowd in the history of the Daytona Supercross. It dates back 14 years. And Lachine gets a man between he and Bailey. Bailey quickly working by. 2 more lap riders in front of the leaders as they head for home. Down they come. Lachine all over the racetrack. Bailey definitely mounting a charge through the whoop-de-doos. Bailey takes the lead. David Bailey on a last lap move has taken the lead from Ron Lachine. Timed it magnificently, and Bailey is going to win it. David Bailey turning for home. Oh, you got to think that he set that one up. He's had Lachine in his sights the entire race and gunned him down at the crucial moment. David Bailey wins the qualifying round number 1. He's going on to the main event. Second spot to Ron Lachine. Scott Burnworth will come home third. There's a disappointed Lachine. I think he thought he had that one in the bag, but Bailey shot him down at the finish line. The defending champion is into the main event, and we'll be right back. Daytona International Speedway, where the superstars of Supercross have advanced to this afternoon's main event. Let's see how they got there. Ricky Johnson, national champion in the 250cc class, and Brock Glover, the current point leader in the Supercross series, met in a qualifying heat race. Action underway, rooster tails to turn number 1, and quickly the Yamahas jumped out front. Saw Bailey and Lachine run away with their heat. This one definitely a Yamaha-dominated qualifier as Glover went directly to the front and carried Johnson with him. Brock Glover, a big question mark here today. The series point leader comes into this event with a cracked bone in his wrist. Broke the bone in practice this week for this race. There was speculation that he might not even be able to ride the Daytona Supercross. Gary Bailey, are you surprised to see a guy with that kind of injury jump out front on this racetrack?
I was very surprised to see that. In fact, I even kind of questioned a little bit the injury. Is it really as bad as they say that it is? Is it kind of a psych out? I don't know. The track is extremely rough. I'm wondering if he can hold on for the entire 12 laps out there. That's going to be the interesting thing to see.
Right now, for Glover, the question is whether he can hold on through this heat race. Brock Glover, the current leader in the race, the current series point leader, a past Supercross national champion and a 3-time 125 national champion. Note how they swing to the left there to take the smoothest line through that whoop-de-doo section. Glover showing his heels here to Ricky Johnson, the defending 250 national outdoor champ. Team Yamaha in command, but I'll tell you what, Johnson is right there. He's working on Brock Glover, broken wrist and all, as they come across the start-finish line jump. Johnson's got a line. He's up the outside and takes the lead. Ricky Johnson into the front spot, one of the flashiest stars in the game. Gary, you gotta like this guy's style.
You know, I think Johnson, he is wild. I think Johnson is going to be the next Bob Hanna as far as the type of rider that people really like to see. He's very outspoken. He's a very flashy rider when he's riding, and he's definitely not known to be one of the smoothest riders out there on the racetrack. Very aggressive.
Well, aggressive pays off here for Ricky Johnson. He has clearly taken control of this qualifying heat race. He's going to carry his teammate Brock Glover with him into the finals, but for the moment the spotlight is on Johnson. An aggressive style as he turns toward home, comes up to take the checkered flag. Honda dominating one qualifying round. Yamaha will take this one and put it in the bank. Ricky Johnson walks home with the checkered flag, wins his qualifying heat race here at Daytona. Now here's a great matchup. Number 1, Johnny O'Mara, the Supercross champion, against number 2, Jeff Ward of Team Kawasaki. No love lost between these two guys. Gary, how do you pick it?
I wouldn't want to. You know, you're talking about two guys that have been battling in the 125 class for the last couple of years and battling every week in the Supercross. And both of these riders are tough. I tell you, I think there's a thing just between those two. And I don't care if those two guys were back running for 7th and 8th place. They don't want the other rider to win.
And so the bitter rivals have at it at Daytona. Johnny O'Mara, the defending Supercross champion, #1, pressured by #2, Jeff Ward, as they come to the white flag. Ward with a move. He's up the inside and takes the lead. Jeff Ward moving around Johnny O'Mara. These guys don't agree on anything. They argue over training methods. They argue over lines on the racetrack. They're constantly at odds. And for this moment, Jeff Ward is getting the better of the argument that counts, but O'Mara is coming right back, challenging at every turn of the racetrack. Over that big jump they go. O'Mara known for his sky shots for those big leaps, but Ward can jump with the best of them. Down into traffic they come here on the final lap, and that can get tricky. Here's Ward through the whoop-de-doos, cuts right. O'Mara hangs left, trying to set up for a last lap pass, trying to regain the lead from O'Mara. Our Tom Mueller posed the question, is Jeff Ward tougher than Johnny O'Mara?
Oh, I think he's tougher. He runs a lot, but you know, that's not saying, you know, too much. I run a lot too and do a lot of other stuff, but there's so many things involved. You know, marathon runners are a lot better shape in running than Johnny is, so there's so many different ways of looking at it.
Now at least Jeff Ward has left Johnny O'Mara looking at it from behind, checking out his rear wheel as they come down on the final lap. Jeff Ward appears to have this clearly in hand, en route to defeating the Supercross national champion. O'Mara, another rider who has gotten off to a slow start, 1985. He's got some catching up to do, but most importantly, both those riders are into the main event here by virtue of their qualifying round performances. Jeff Ward, a heat race winner. Final qualifying heat of the day. Down they thunder into turn #1. Watch the big tumble. Jeff Sutherland and Gary DePio fail to make it out of turn #1. It is a rough and tumble world out there in Supercross competition. And look who's up front. The new member of Team Yamaha is Keith Bowen, number 14. He's got number 9, Mark Barnett, recently moved to Kawasaki along with Bob Hurricane Hanna in tow. Bowen, just a youngster, comes from Michigan. He's put a straightaway on Barnett, a 10-year veteran of the Supercross wars. Bob Hurricane Hanna could today make history by becoming the first man ever to win this race 3 times. Barnett switching from Suzuki to Kawasaki for 1985, former Supercross champion, many-time 125 national champion, is busting out of a slump. Here's Bowen up over the double jump. Good style for the youngster. That's part of what helped earn him that Yamaha contract. Mark Barnett trying to break out of a year-long slump and win this race for the first time. Down through the east switchback comes Keith Bowen. Could be the big motocross success story of 1985. Gary Bailey, when a young kid comes along like this and gets a new contract, does it create pressure?
Well, that's true. You know, there's advantages and disadvantages to a rider coming up like that. He's got a lot of pressure that you know, against with the factories and all like that. But on the other hand, he's pumped because he's got everything going for him. He's got the factory backing. So, you know, it kind of works both ways with a rider like that. It really depends on his own personal attitude and how he accepts things like that.
Well, if Keith Bowen is feeling any additional pressure with his new responsibilities, he's certainly not letting it show on the front straightaway here at Daytona. Working lap traffic very effectively. He has 2 of the biggest names in Supercross, Bob Hanna and Mark Barnett, at bay as he turns for home and what may well be the biggest day of his young racing career. Down to the checkered flag comes number 14, Keith Bowen, giving Team Yamaha its 2nd qualifying race victory of the day. Victory to Keith Bowen. Runner-up spot will go to Bob Hurricane Hanna. He cruises up over the start-finish line, obviously confident as he moves on to the main event. Here is Mark Barnett, your 3rd place finisher. Winner Keith Bowen in his qualifying heat. Well, that's how the good guys got to the final. But let's take a look at some of those who had a little less luck today and didn't make it to the main event. As you can see, some lines work a little better through the whoop-de-doos than others. Some techniques are more effective in the sand than others. Some guys have the answers and some guys are still looking for them. And while they're looking, they need to look out. you need any more proof that these guys are tough, watch them get up and walk away. Most notable in that category, Sergei Baku, number 619, over the handlebars, on his head, jumps back on board, wins the last chance qualifier, and becomes the 40th man in the Daytona Supercross main event. We'll be right back.
Daytona, they're lining up for the Formula 2 race. Freddie Spencer hoping to take a second step here toward a triple crown on this 85 cycle week. Earlier,
Daytona International Speedway. Dave Despain with the motocross professor Gary Bailey set for the 14th running of the Daytona Supercross Championship. How about it, Gary? Is your racetrack holding up to your satisfaction?
I tell you, it's going to be a heck of a main event whenever we get to it, because the track is extremely rough, and even the best rider, I think, can have problems out there.
And the best is just what we have here. Number 1, Johnny O'Mara, Supercross champion. 25, Bob Hanna, trying to win for the 3rd time. And Tom Mueller is with Jeff Ward.
Jeff, you had a really fast heat race win. Are you ready for the main event? Can you take another 12 laps on this course, as rough as it is?
Oh yeah, I only went 6 laps, so I haven't even got warmed up yet, and 12 laps should be no problem at all.
You seemed really strong in your heat race. I guess you just have more left in you. Can you turn it back on and have that much strength left for another race?
Oh yeah, I was picking up speed the whole, 6 laps of that motor. I would have been going faster at the end of 12, so I'll do the same this time.
The 40 fastest riders in American motocross are at the starting gate at Daytona. Just about set for the start. The engines rev into gear, clutches out and underway. An incredible charge down into turn number 1. They funnel into the corner. Can everybody get through this incredible traffic jam? One casualty in the back of the pack. Out to the front goes number 2, Jeff Ward. He's got the whole shot over number 1, David Bailey. Slipping into that 3rd spot, we've got Bob Hanna.
Brock Glover falling back through the field. He has gone back to 5th spot, broken wrist and all, as Bob Hanna moves around. And moving with Hanna is number 75. The field charging off into the turn number 3 area, and up over that big double jump for the first time goes Ward. Boy, he really uncorked one there. Here comes the rest of the field scrambling after as the leader works his way down to the east end of the racetrack for the first time. Looks like Coxey's Army out there, rattling handlebars, crossing those front ends up as they storm through the bumps and the jumps. Number 1 is Bailey, and he is the defending champion, trying to do what has not been done here for several years, and that is win this race back-to-back. And here come all the guys he's got to contend with. Every one of these hopefuls trying to get up here and challenge number 2, Jeff Ward, who got the whole shot on the Kawasaki and is now going to try to fend off the assault of David Bailey.
Let's check in with his old man and see what Gary thinks of his son's performance.
David Bailey seems to be holding back in that number 2 position. He tends to be content in the number 2 position for a while, kind of checking out the lines of Jeff Ward so that he knows exactly what Jeff is going to be doing out there on the racetrack. So when he does get past him, he'll know the lines that he's using, and it'll make it a lot better for him to be able to hold him back there.
I detect optimism there in the voice of the professor, Gary Bailey. Note that he said when, not if, but when David Bailey gets by the leader. We'll see as we continue the action of the Daytona Supercross into lap number 2 of 12. This race has a different format than do the other Supercross competitions. Here's a rider in trouble. Number 73 stopped, and getting back underway is Doug Hoover. All of the Supercross races, save Daytona, involve a 2-race format and combined overall scoring. But here at Daytona, this most unique of all the Supercross races, it's one 12-lap charge to the checkered flag. The guy who gets there first wins the big bucks. And right now, the guy in first is Jeff Ward.
And Dave, you may notice that the riders are tending to go to the edges of the racetrack as far as possible, because it's a lot smoother there. They can pick up a lot more miles per hour. In fact, on some of these straightaways, they can pick up as much as 4 and 5 mile an hour faster than the other riders. They're running right down the middle through the holes.
Why doesn't everybody go to the outside then, Gary?
Well, a lot of the riders try to. Some of them aren't really thinking about that. They're thinking about the shortest line. You can see here David goes around the outside a little bit to try and get the drive on Ward, which he does.
And he's got the lead. The professor called it, and the little professor pulled it off. He zaps Ward to take the lead. David Bailey trying to carve his name in the Daytona record book. Throughout the long history of this event, only 2 riders have ever won in consecutive years. Tony DeStefano did it in 75 and 76. Darrell Schultz in 81 and 82. Now a pitched battle as Ward retakes the lead. How about the dicing back and forth? Does that make you nervous, Gary?
A little bit, but the only thing that really bothers me much is the start, and now I think David's got things in hand. He kind of made a mistake when he was coming down the pit road there, and he kind of backed out of it a little bit. I was kind of surprised to see him let Ward get back by him there, but the bike might have kicked. He might have been having little handling problems. It's hard to say.
Ward back in front, Bailey in hot pursuit as the leaders work their way around this Daytona Supercross course. Back there in that third spot with a good ride is number 14, Keith Bowen. He was a heat race winner here. Is he the surprise of the main event so far, Gary?
I think so. You know, he's up there strong, but I don't expect to see him hold that position. I expect really to see him back maybe 2-3 more positions before the finish. I'm kind of surprised that Ron Lachine's back that far, but I expect to see him up in the next few laps up in that 34th position.
Lachine is scrambling as Ward leads the way. Bailey on bike number 1, sitting in that second spot. Then it is Keith Bowen moving by right there, and here is Bob Hanna, who has moved into 4th spot. The Hurricane, a former winner of Daytona. 5th is Brock Glover with the broken wrist. The question for him is endurance and pain. Can he put it behind him and continue to truck? There's a good shot of Bowen as he tries to close it up on Bailey. Looks like he's catching the leaders, and this could be a 3-rider race very quickly.
The race you want to watch is that race between Keith Bowen and Bob Hanna. There's two guys that have been at it for the last 2 years, and I can tell you for sure that Bob's going to do anything he can to get by Bowen. And Bob's not had a real good season this year or last year, and this win would mean an awful lot to Bob to be able to put this one in the bag.
Well, Bowen, number 14, has had a couple of collision episodes with Bob Hanna, and that certainly has created a little grudge match between those two guys. I'm impressed with the way Bowen is riding here. He won his heat race. He's got a new Yamaha factory team ride, and now he is hot on the heels of Bailey. A little bit of a battle for Bowen.
Yeah, that's the thing you want to watch for. Now, Bowen's a very good rider. He's not got quite the experience some of the other riders does, and I think he loses his concentration at some times, and I think that's what gets him in trouble. But other than that, he's as capable of running as fast as the others.
Do you think he knows that that's Bob Hanna behind him as he looked back and checked?
I'm sure he does. They usually know who's back there. They usually take a little peek every chance they get. The problem we're going to have now, it's going to be difficult for David to get by Ward. He got by him once. Ward made the charge back by him, and David, of course, is never going to be able to pass him in the same place he passed him before. I think Ward's learned a lesson.
Ward is not going to make the same mistake twice, not going to leave that door open a crack, so Bailey will have to find another opening. It is number 2, Jeff Ward on the Kawasaki leading. Number 1, David Bailey in 2nd spot, and Hanna putting the pressure on number 14, Keith Bowen, in your race for 3rd and 4th. Interesting mix of brands up front. Kawasaki, then Honda, then Yamaha, then another Honda, and the ferocious competition among the Japanese manufacturers of these race bikes is one of the things, one of the keys, if you will, to the incredible growth of Supercross racing and the huge salaries that these riders can make. It is not at all uncommon to see a young man in this game sign a 6-figure contract to ride for the factory teams. Bowen has recently done that. Number 14 currently running 3rd and pursued by the Hurricane, Bob Hanna. Gary, a thought on Bob Hanna. Has he lost some of his drive, do you think, through the injuries that he's suffered in the last couple of years?
Well, I think Bob still, I would say not after that pass, but, you know, Bob Hanna, you know, he's 20, whoa, and there's Bowen, I think, losing his concentration.
Bowen in trouble, exactly. He lost his concentration there, Gary. He's got to come back and re-enter the course where he left it. Hanna blew by, broke Bowen's concentration. Bob Hanna is 3rd, and Bowen falls back into the pack.
More of the greatest motorcycle spectacle on earth after these messages.
Congratulations.
Yes, the Prince of Darkness is back with an appetite that's out of control.
The girls are beautiful.
Friday and Saturday, Night Flight goes for the throat with Andy Warhol's Blood of Dracula. Friday, it's twice the fright as Night Flight takes off with monster rockers Billy Idol, the Ramones, and more. Saturday, walk on the wild side with the one and only Lou Reed.
What's interesting to me is creating something that's not there.
It's a weekend of Rocky horror on Night Flight all night. Starting at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on USA, Friday and Saturday.
More energy than Richard Simmons. Able to whip up a Tiger Burger in a single stroke. It's
Commander USA. This here's my pal, Lefty. Sure.
This week, along with Zorro's Black Whip and the Undersea Kingdom, things come to a head with the Brainiac. And blood marks the spot in the mark of the devil. So warm up, tune in, and turn on your telepsychotronic screen and watch Commander USA's Groovy Movies at noon Eastern, 9 Pacific on USA, Saturday.
We know that the bikes take an incredible beating, but what about the riders, Gary? There's so much talk about Supercross being the most physical of motorsports. Is a 12-lap main event on this course going to tire these guys out, or is that a short sprint for them?
Well, if we were on the normal indoor tracks, the man made, whoa, David's down right there as he comes over the top of the jump. And that's what I'm talking about concentration. Of course, there was a slower rider in front of him there, and he might have messed up his drive coming out of the corner.
The guy is flashy, he's spectacular to watch, and right now he is in command of this Daytona Supercross. His nearest rival, well, it's suddenly Bob Hanna, and as we can see, Hanna is closing it up here. Do you think he's going to go for another Daytona win, Gary?
I can tell you something. When we come down to 2 laps, I think Bob is going to pull out all stops. I think he'll let it hang out. I think Bob's the kind of guy, and particularly for this race, it's so important to him that I don't think second place means a thing to Bob, and he's going to let it hang out and do whatever he has to do, and he's either going to go for first or nothing.
They're working their way past a slower rider, and you'll remember that a year ago in this very race on USA Network, Hanna came away with just, oh, the leader has crashed.
And there's his break right there if he can get out of it. Okay, oh, here we go. Here's the Hurricane now. That's the break he needed.
Bob Hanna, if he can win this race, will be the first man in history to win the Daytona Supercross 3 times. He won it in 1977, came back and won it in '83 after a 7-year lapse. And now, if he can win it this year, he's the first man in history to win 3 times. It's a little, and he's off the racetrack. Bob Hanna bouncing off the berm. He got tangled up with traffic, Gary. Was that the problem?
No, it looks like he come out of the corner. He had the bike laid over a little bit, and he hit that first whoop-de-doo, which has those telephone poles in it, and it kind of threw him off to the side of the racetrack.
Hanna, with those reflexes that have carried him to more victories in this sport than any other rider, hangs on, saved the bike. Crowd screams as he moves back up the front straightaway. Bob Hurricane Hanna. And boy, I'll tell you, the hurricane warning flags are out in force here at Daytona today because Hanna is on the march.
I think you're going to have, I think anybody's going to have a hard time beating Bob right now. He's got a little bit of a lead, but even if they were closer to him, this guy is pumped. I mean, this is the race that he wants more than any race all year long, and I don't think anybody's going to catch him now.
Well, he's been close to disaster a couple of times. This guy, Jeff Ward, number 2, fell off while leading directly in front of Hanna, and Hanna, in fact, had to run over his motorcycle to take the lead, and then just a couple of laps later, a bobble in one of the whoop-de-doos almost sent Hanna off course, but he is charging. Ward turning in a good ride here. After the fall, he's regrouped quickly. He's holding on to second spot. He appears to be pretty solid in that position right now as Jeff Ward hangs on to second place, and the rest of the field come on in hot pursuit. We got good action at Daytona. Gary?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that Ward held on to that number 2 position. I thought with Lachine so close to him right after Jeff had fallen that he was going to get back to him, but Jeff's done an extremely good job in picking up the pace rather quickly.
The leader, Bob Hanna, number 25, dives into the alligator pit, squirts out the other side, lap traffic ahead of him. And Gary, this is one of the biggest dangers in the sport. It's not the big bumps, it's not the big jumps, it's those lapped riders, huh?
Yeah, they try and get out of the way, but you know, a lot of times they're not sure what side you're coming on. They move right over in front of you, and it's real easy for them to take your front wheel out.
See the tremendous speed differential between the fastest riders, Hanna, and some of the back markers in the field who are still paying their dues and going to school here, learning lessons from the old masters like Hanna. What an accomplishment this would be. This young man came up through the sport of motocross in the 125cc class, was national champion, and then simply took the motocross world by storm. He's won every championship there is to win. He's won more races than any other rider, but the last couple of years have really been difficult. He's really been hurt a lot, hasn't he, Gary?
Yes, he has, but you know, he's come back from a lot of injuries. Bob is a very special person, a special type of rider to me. He's got more determination than any 2 riders I know, and I think that's why at 28 years old he's still strong. I don't think you're going to see many riders in motocross in these days that are going to be any stronger than this guy is at 28 years old. He's smart. He's a good rider. He's got great balance on the motorcycle. He's got a very good balance. He can do things. He can get in trouble. He can correct it. The guy is just fantastic to watch on a motorcycle.
Here is your third-place rider. This is number 6, Ron Lachine, who won back-to-back races in the Seattle Kingdom earlier this year and is just 1 point behind Jeff Ward in the standings. Now, in the early going, he was pressuring Ward a little bit after Jeff's crash, but now Lachine doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And Gary, I don't know, it seems that the magic, the drive is just not there. He doesn't seem to have that fire that it takes to make a charge.
It's hard to say. You never really know what the problem is. You know, he could be having bike problems. There's a lot of things that could possibly happen. But look at Hanna going through these whoop-de-doos. This guy is incredible. He's flying.
How old were you when you quit racing, Gary?
When I quit racing, I was 35 years old.
So much for that bit about 28-year-olds, huh?
But it's different. You know, Roger DeCoster, you know, he rode good for a long time, and it used to be at 37, 38, 39 years old, you could still compete, but it's becoming more and more a young man's sport.
Why is that? Is that because these guys get their so much experience in the mini bikes when they're still in grade school and really reach their peak form by the time they're in their early 20s?
Yeah, I don't think physical conditioning was as much of a factor whenever I was riding as it is now, and now it's more and more important, so the younger rider can definitely stay more physically fit than the older guys.
The story of Daytona may well be Bob Hurricane Hanna as he sets his sights on a spot in the Daytona record book. All the great drivers and motorcycle riders have come here over the years. The Richard Pettys and, of course, the Roger Reemans of the road courses. In motocross, the name is Bob Hanna. Twice a winner before, trying to become the first man to ever win it 3 times. And you see one of his entourage cheering him on as he works on number 34, one of the lap riders in the field, Danny Storbeck from San Antonio, Texas. Hanna working the traffic like a breeze here as he works the laps down. The white flag is out, and Bob Hurricane Hanna is very close to the biggest accomplishment of his career, a 3rd victory at Daytona International Speedway. He's going to be a happy man. It is over, and Bob Hurricane Hanna has done it. And so the checkered flag has fallen, and Bob Hanna has won the race. And Gary, I wonder what this means to Bob Hurricane Hanna.
Well, I think it's real important to him. I think you're going to see this guy is extremely excited. I mean, he hasn't won anything in the last couple of years, so to speak of, and this race means so much to him. And I tell you, it's good because it's supposedly going to be Bob's last year of racing, and what a way to go out by winning the biggest Supercross of all, which is the Daytona Supercross.
Well, I told you, we've been working hard. You know, I started out real slow this year. I rode bad and been working on the bikes, and about 3 weeks ago we got the bike working good, and I still wasn't riding too good. And then last week I rode fairly decent and got a little nervous, and then this week I wasn't quite as nervous and was a little slow on the start and didn't ride too good the first few laps, but in the end I rode all right.
Is Bob Hanna getting old? You're pretty quiet in Winner's Circle this time. Last time we remember here, you had a girl on top of your head after you won.
Well, there's no girls up here, and I got it all out going down that front straightaway over there, so if there was some girls up here, we'd have them on our heads, no doubt about that.
Do you ever feel this win might be your last when you get to this point, or there's many more to come?
Not my last Daytona win, that's for sure.
You'll be back for maybe 4, 5, 6 more.
Yeah, I want to win 4 or 5 of them. I don't want to go out too soon.
The man on fire today was Bob Hurricane Hanna. Gary Bailey, he just made every move count.
He definitely did a fine job. You know, he sat back there and he got a 3rd place start. He sat back there and he waited, and everything came his way. David had his problems, Ward had his problems, Hanna went into the lead, and from there on he just took it and rode smooth and smart.
Smart indeed, Gary Bailey, and he offers a promise of more to come. Bob